is ASMR to the G2. Before we begin, let's get some business out of the way. Number one, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, I would love it if you did and joined our little family here on YouTube. Two, if you like my videos and would like to hear more, I do have another ASMR channel on YouTube where I record ASMR videos in Greek. I will put the link down below. Next, I am recording in the middle of the day, so there will be some background noise. You'll hear airplanes and stuff like that. I do apologize in advance. In today's video, we will be continuing our reading of the book, The Wrong Girl. Let's get right into it. Tell me where you feel the hottest. Whatever do you mean? Your fingers, your feet, or inside you? I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Think about it. I shrugged. I couldn't really say right now. Do you feel it coming on? Coming on like a wave, a surge through your body? Yes, I lied. I thought it best to agree with his own symptoms since Vi had never confided in me about hers. And you can't stop it from bursting out of you. You already know I can't. Have you ever tried? Tried? Have you tried to control your fear? For me, it's a matter of dampening my temper, but for you, it'll be overcoming your fear, since that's what you think is your trigger. Give me 1 second, I just need to rearrange myself on the bed. You can try breathing exercises or counting backwards whenever you feel scared. I can't say I've ever tried to quell my fears like that. Shall we attempt to now? Counting backwards. You're beginning to sound like Miss Levine. Will I receive a rap across the knuckles if I falter? Will that induce enough fear to set off the sparks? I gave him a withering glare, and he gave me that now familiar, almost smile. You're right, he said. There's no point in doing breathing exercises if we don't first study how it's triggered. Are you going to leap out from behind a cupboard and shout boo? He didn't even laugh at that, although I couldn't help smirking. I'd be checking around corners for the next 5 weeks. You don't strike me as the fearful sort. He continued to look at me, twisting his mouth in thought as he studied me. It's very odd that your talent would be triggered in that manner when it's not something you appear to suffer from overmuch. Besides, you must have been afraid when I abducted you, yet nothing happened. You drugged me. And anyway, how do you know it's odd? For all we know, you may be the odd one and everyone else with your talent has the same triggers as me. You may be right. The question still stands. How am I going to frighten you? You could get Baller to chase me with a shovel again. My joke fell flat, and I shuddered at the memory of stumbling across the mute in the woods. Jack was at my side in an instant. He touched my hands, and sparks sapped between us. I felt a shock through to my bones. It was as if every part of me had been struck by lightning, and even after he drew back, my nerves continued to sizzle. He stood and shook out his hands. Bloody hell, he muttered. I'm sorry. Are you all right? I expected to see burns on his hands, but they appeared perfectly fine, as did mine. They did, however, feel hot. Indeed, I felt hot all over. I removed the choker from around my neck, but it did little to alleviate my discomfort. Why did that happen? I asked. I thought you only started fires when you were angry. He lifted one shoulder in a shrug and turned away. You touched me when you kidnapped me, yet that didn't happen, I said. talking more to myself than him. I didn't expect an explanation, and nor did he offer one. He made a great fuss with the pails, kicking them gently and watching the water ripple on the surface. I studied my palms again. They were still hot, as was the rest of me, but they no longer tingled. Remarkable. There seems to be so much that we don't know about this. Jack, I must ask, what makes you think I can be trained at all? He stopped kicking the buckets and knelt on one knee in front of me. There was a resignation in his eyes and a deep sadness, but I did not touch him like I wanted to. We have to try, Violet. His voice was smooth and chocolatey thick. Despite my confusion and uncertainty, it instantly lifted my spirits. Otherwise, you'll be a prisoner for the rest of your life. Now. He stood again and removed his waistcoat and rolled up his sleeves. Jack, I shielded my eyes with my hand but peeked through the fingers. I may have lived a sheltered life, but I do know undressing in company is not appropriate. To hell with propriety, I'm boiling inside. I quite understood, and I thanked God that I wasn't wearing a corset and had chosen a light dress for the day. If you're trying to frighten me, it's not working. He laughed. I'm not trying to frighten you. Not yet. Let's begin with some breathing exercises you can employ for when you're feeling afraid. I couldn't sleep that night. Thoughts of Jack whirled through my head. I couldn't block them out, nor did I want to. I liked how he looked at me. I liked how he made me feel, except when he zapped me, that is. It had taken the rest of the day before my body cooled enough to feel comfortable again. Indeed, I was still a little warm, so I rose to open the window. The air was cold, but didn't alleviate the heat throbbing through me. Jack's touch had indeed been powerful, and the effects long-lasting. Voices drifted up to me from below. In the moonlight, I could just make out two figures standing side by side. One wore a long overcoat and hat, the other did not. Both had the stance and size of men. He'll be in a lot of trouble if Langley finds out, said a voice I instantly recognized as Jack's. Why is he referring to his uncle by his surname? We don't know it's him. Good Lord, it was Tommy, speaking in a slum accent similar to what I heard Jack use that one time in Langley's rooms. His tones had been cultured earlier as befitted a footman in a grand house, so why the slip now? I leaned further out the window to hear more. Of course it's him, Jack said. The maid said. She's a name, Jack, Maud. You might have risen up, yeah, now, but you better not forget where you came from. Wouldn't not want that pretty lady knowing what you really is, would ya? Something flared in the darkness, and I realized with a start that it was Jack's fingers. There were no sparks, but they did glow. Jesus bloody Christ, Jack-o'-lantern. Tommy backed away. I don't mean no harm. I won't tell her nothing. Put your hands away. The glow went out. Maud said the intruder she saw was a tall man with a big nose and a scar across one eye. Unless you know of another fitting that description, then I'd wager it was Patrick. But Patrick's in London with the others. It would seem he's made at least one trip into the country recently. I'll go to London and warn him to keep low. I apologized. My husband's talking on the phone. He went into the basement, but I could still hear him. I'm gonna throw him a quick message so he can talk lower. Anyhow, let's continue. What? You're not gonna let the bobbies deal with him? My, seems you ain't forgot us after all. Of course I haven't forgot you. You know that. You're my family. Always have been, always will be. Jack gave Tommy a slap on the back, and Tommy briefly clasped Jack's arm. You got another family now, Tommy said. An uncle and a cousin. Don't think they like hearing you talk about the likes of Patrick and me closer to you than them. Jack tipped his head back as if he were about to look up. I ducked inside and flattened myself against the wall. My heart thundered in my chest and I closed my eyes, held my breath. They're not my family, I heard Jack say, and I breathed out again. It would appear he hadn't seen me. No need to feel bad about what Patrick stole then, is it? Langley's just another toff. The gravel crunched beneath their boots as the two men walked away. I breathed deeply several times. I still couldn't believe what I just heard, yet I must. Jack not only knew the thief, he was protecting him. They're not my family, he said. If that were the case, why is he living at Frankenheim House at all? To fleece Langley of his wealth by pretending to be his nephew, or was there something more sinister going on? Chapter 6. Try focusing inward, said Jack. How do I do that? I sat in the training room with my eyes shut. When Jack had asked me to close them, I thought he was going to frighten me in some way, but he hadn't. Try to imagine your insides, he said. I pulled a face. Do I have to? Not your innards, but the flow of your energy, your essence, if you like. He must have been circling my chair because his voice sounded like it was surrounding me. I felt completely immersed in its rich, honey-thick tones. Can you feel it, Violet? The flow of heat beneath your skin, the quiet thump of warm blood through your veins. My breath came in short bursts, and I had to fight for every one. I could only manage a nod, but I couldn't explain that what I felt was perhaps as a result of his close proximity and the lilt of his voice. Heat did indeed swell inside me. I opened my eyes and stood up, almost bumping into him. He managed to back away just in time. What's wrong? He asked. I put a hand to my forehead. I'm tired. This has been an exhausting day, and I didn't. I was about to tell him I hadn't slept well, but I didn't want to plant the suspicion that I'd overheard his conversation with Tommy. I didn't think we'd be training all morning. Would you prefer to sit and embroider with Sylvia? Actually, I would. Perhaps we can resume later. He frowned. Are you sure you're all right? You do look tired. I'm fine, I said brightly, but all this anatomical talk is quite overwhelming. My poor head can't cope. His gaze narrowed. You seem to comprehend it well enough. Did you have a tutor? 4. They came regularly, but never at the same time. I saw them. I'd assumed they were there to teach your sister. Perhaps they did. I don't know. It was Mr. Upworth who taught us about biology of plants and animals. Humans weren't included in our education, thankfully. The basic structure is the same between many animals and humans. Oh, don't look so horrified. I haven't cut up dead bodies to discover that fact. Like you, I had tutors and books. The only books I've seen are in your uncle's room. And those are the ones I read. He's generous when it comes to their use. He says knowledge is the only way for a man to rise above the class in which he was born. You should ask to borrow something when you get bored with embroidery. No, thank you. I think it's best that I avoid Mr. Langley for a while. He won't be mad at you anymore. Trust me, he's quick to anger and just as quick to forgive, although perhaps not forget. Not entirely, he muttered. I thought you didn't like him. We have our differences, but he's been generous to me and to Sylvia, so he should be. He's your uncle. I was fishing for more information about the relationship, but he detected it. If he detected it, he didn't give any indication. Why don't you just call him Uncle August like Sylvia does? It's what we both prefer. So you're back to being suspicious again, to see Sylvia?" he asked. I paused in the doorway and blinked back at him, worried I'll try to escape again. "No, I just want to know where I can find you when it's time to resume training." I groaned. "We're not finished for the day. Not even close." "Then I look forward to seeing you again." "No, you don't, but I appreciate your attempt at flattery anyway." In truth, I did look forward to seeing him again, but it was far less humiliating to laugh than tell him that. And this is where we will end our video for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see